Hey there everybody, today I've got something really special for you. This game right here was sent to me by a member of the dev team. It is called Spellweaver, and it was described to me as a mix of Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone, which, Hearthstone really draws heavily upon some Magic the Gathering influences, but improves on it in a lot of ways, and Magic the Gathering has some more rigidity and form to it than maybe Hearthstone does. I've played both games, not as much time in Hearthstone as I would like, but to kind of marry those two things, maybe that rigidity and form and some of the more mechanical improvements that Hearthstone's been able to do simply because it's newer, really Magic has a lot of baggage to carry around. Kind of presenting that to me is interesting prospect, and I really want to check this game out. So we've gone ahead, we've set it up, we actually did the tutorial. I'm going to hopefully be able to show that to you guys. The tutorial raised a couple of questions, which is why I kind of skipped it, because I think maybe I'll be able to learn more from playing the game on my own time, and then maybe teach you guys kind of quickly so you can familiarize yourself with the game in a more in-depth way, because the tutorial left a couple of questions kind of on the order of how damage is dealt depending on if you attack a creature or not, but we'll get into all that kind of stuff later on. For right now, I really wanted to talk to you guys about these 6 options right here. Now, after you finish your first tutorial, the tutorial takes place playing as the order. You're going to be greeted with these 6 options, and you can select your deck. Now, in a later video, maybe after we've covered some of the gameplay and some of the lore of this, because the lore for this game seems pretty interesting, the art seems pretty great, and the music actually is really solid too back there in the background, if you can hear that. But we're going to talk about the pricing structure and the model and everything at a later date. I want to make sure that I can get a statement from the dev team to kind of talk about that, because right now what I've looked at so far, I don't want to tack that down in case I'm mistaken, so I'd really rather hear it straight from the horse's mouth, kind of what the pay structure for this looks like. So we are going to talk about that, but maybe a bit later. First, I just kind of want to show you this to kind of whet your appetite and get you curious about this world. So if you came here because you're a fan of Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering, if you've never watched the channel before, what we normally do on the channel is play daily matches of Magic the Gathering on there. If you're one of my old subscribers, then I really think you'll like this game. And if you're new, please subscribe to the channel, because there's probably going to be some overlap in our interests, and you can check out some stuff that I have on there. So really what I want to do right now is maybe just talk about these different aspects of the game. Now, I have read through these once, and I already know which one I'm going to pick, but we were going to talk just quickly about what they are, who they are, what they're doing. Aspect order. Amass an army of cost-efficient soldiers to overwhelm your opponent, or just stay in the game until your angels come onto the field to win the game with style. The order aspect specializes in creature buffs, gaining life, and defensive spells. Now, I know some of you might not be familiar with Magic the Gathering. I'm going to try and keep my references to Magic to a minimum. Suffice it to say that I've played a myriad of card games, or collectible card games and trading card games in my life. Maybe not as much Hearthstone. This game actually reminds me a little bit. There are some aspects of it that remind me a little bit of Soulforge. Mostly the art is very great, and I played Soulforge forever just because I loved the art, and the cards had multiple art aspects to them. They would change and shift as they grew more powerful, and that really, I just loved Soulforge for that, for the art and everything. So I've been playing card games my whole life. I'm going to try and keep the references down to a minimum, just read you what they've given us on here to kind of go off of. But every once in a while, I will reference Magic for a frame of reference for the people who have, seen or dealt with that game in the past. This sounds like a pretty boring playstyle. This is all kind of stuff that I don't like. I'm not a big fan of life gain. The object of this game, as with any really collectible card game or trading card game, is to get your opponent down to 0. Gaining life doesn't really help you do that in the grander scheme of things. And I really don't see anything from this game that makes it a viable strategy either. Now, that being said, I've only done the tutorial. I've done very little actual gameplay, and by very little I mean none. So I could be completely wrong, but just from my personality, this is kind of a boring thing. I don't really like the white order aspect of card games usually. Angelic Legion's deck is able to pull off a quick win, and also has powerful cards for a strong late game. That does sound pretty useful though. Deck offers a good balance between offense and defense. I also don't like, enchantments and stuff. I don't know if this has instant speed spells. That wasn't in the tutorial. Instant speed spells are spells that can be played on your opponent's turn. That is something that Hearthstone lacked the last time I played it. I don't know if they added that in or not. So that's something to consider as well. Maybe you can't be 2 for 1, meaning you lose 2 cards for your opponent only spending 1 card, with some instant speed removal where they would kill a creature that you're about to use a buff spell on. Wow, really hard to not talk about Magic the Gathering. Aspect Nature. Excel on the battlefield with speed, surprise attacks, and combat tricks. Clear the path for your attacks by returning creatures back to whence they came. The Nature aspect has combat tricks, swift creatures, and spell artifact destruction. Interesting. Play Brothers in Arms, put Brothers in Arms, shuffle your deck, dies, sacrifice all. See, I like this because it's like lore. It's got a good feel to it. You're getting the other ones out there, but they all die at once. That's interesting. That's cool. And that's what drew me to this game. They sent me kind of the webpage, and I read about it. And that's what made me decide to really take a closer look. Support enters the field on the support line. Here's the support line protect. See, and it does have this really interesting frontline support line type of RPG element to it that I'm really interested to kind of get into. Dominate combat with a never-ending swarm of cunning elf warriors. With this deck, your opponents will often have a hard time keeping up. Sounds like that's a little bit faster than I expected to. It's interesting that they say here combat tricks, which could be just making them bigger, but they also say up here returning creatures back to whence they came, which is interesting. That's not usually something you see in green tinged trading card aspect wisdom trading card. I wanted to say aspect, but they're like forcing me to say aspect so often that I was trying desperately to come up with a different word, but I couldn't. I apologize. Gradually build up your resources and gain advantage until you are ready to capitalize on it and overwhelm your opponent. The wisdom aspect provides easy access to new cards, levels, energy, and helps you use cards from other aspects in your deck. Now we're going to be talking about all this stuff in a little bit more depth here in a second, like the costs and everything like that. I know very little about it, but this is just kind of how the decks work. I think if you're a fan of trading card games at all, you kind of have sort of a feel for what these ideas or ideals held by these certain colors are. Disable opponent's creatures with cheap spells while charging cards, making use of the energy resource. If you can hold off the enemy attacks, victory is guaranteed. That's advanced level. This sounds pretty fun. They get this radical like dragon sphinx hybrid thing. In flying, which means something quite different from some other games. Evasion, usually very nice because it's harder to block. This game, however, does not have a blocking aspect. It's very Hearthstone in that way where you can decide or designate where the damage is going. Now, one of the things that confused me about the tutorial so that I didn't really want to show it was that it wasn't super clear or surfaced who decides how damage goes onto the stack and who gets hurt when. So I wanted to kind of hammer that out. I didn't want this to be kind of just a vomiting of ideas and stuff. But maybe we'll take a look at that in a second. The two that I really have my eye on are Dominion and Corruption. So we're going to take a look at Corruption. Deplete the opponent's cards, creatures, and life while growing your undead army. The Corruption aspect powers are in weakening creatures. That sounds interesting. Weakening creatures, draining health, discarding cards, and generally making your opponent's life miserable. I do. And then look at this, seems really powerful. Hero sacrifices 2 creatures. It's assumed by me right now that they are the one who would pick the sacrifice just because of the word sacrifice. It would probably say destroy 2 creatures if it was otherwise. But that's really interesting. I don't know if there's any kind of indestructibility, meaning that me as the caster of this card would be unable to destroy a creature, but my opponent sacrificing it is allowed in that instance. I'm not sure if that exists or not. They have a cheap 2/2. And let's see what the big guy is. Dread Knight attacks, move a creature defending hero controls to the support line. Protected but can't take part in combat. So that's really interesting. I do want to dig into that support line. It was nowhere in the tutorial. And to be super honest, I accidentally played the tutorial while not recording, so I would have rather showed that to you, but I couldn't get back into it. Undead may be slow, but they hit hard. While they do, you force the enemy hero to discard cards and sacrifice creatures. Your massive endgame monsters are just dessert. Interesting. And then we've got Rage. Overwhelm the enemy quickly with more creatures, generally goblins, and damage, generally painful, than they can handle. The Rage aspect can deal massive amounts of damage and do it fast. It's also good at breaking living things as well. It's got Direct Burn, which is always great. I love having removal, a way to remove creatures, a way to damage my opponent's face directly. Like I said, I mean, you need to get your opponent's life to 0, and 3 damage seems like a good way to start doing that. Swift means these creatures have Summoning Sickness for Magic the Gathering players. It's pretty much in every trading card game, but it's called different things. They're unable to act on turn 1 when you first play them. So this guy brings a buddy, it looks like, which is nice. I couldn't click on him. He's just a boring 2/1 though with some flavor text. I do like the flavor text of this game so far. Rush into battle with inexpensive goblins and the occasional lizard, and quickly deal tons of damage. If the enemy hero ain't dead yet, finish her off with damage spells. Entry level easy, and that is generally pretty true because fast damage is a pretty reliable way to end the game. Sacrifice anything and anyone for the sake of achieving victory. Use the most powerful spells and creatures in the game. See, this is so intoxicating to me. But know the cost of ultimate power is often high. The Dominion aspect specializes in creature destruction and gaining mana quickly. I literally love every word that I just read here. This guy, attached to creatures, so these are like weird enchantment things. Weakness, they get neg1, neg1. That's crazy. Like the implant, like I really love the flavor behind this. Like the fact that they're implants and stuff. They're these weird biological, like weapony type things. Man-machine hybrids. We've got vampires here that have Lifebound, where you gain life for the damage it deals. This is a speed marker here. I had no idea what that was, but we'll talk about that. And then it's got this sacrifice thing. I really like that card. And then, of course, we have Wrath of God, Damnation. We have a board clearing effect. I love stuff like this. Use bio-implanted artifacts to dominate the board with the biggest creature. Implants gradually drain your creature's power, but you should have one by then, right? Probably. Corruption was the other one. I really do like. I like the look of this guy. I love the art of him. He's kind of like, he's like a metal Cthulhu-esque kind of son of a gun. You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit of that going on because he's got all these spike tendrils. It's pretty awesome. And I really love this. So it is kind of hard for me because I am really down to Corruption and Dominion. But personally, I think we're going to go ahead and confirm that. So like I said, this game is not even out yet. This is in closed beta. I think it opens up next month, but I will confirm that. Like I said, we're going to do a couple of videos on this and kind of just talk about it and see what we can do from there. So it looks like what's this do? Uncommon daily quest available. Play 1 games. All right, so it looks like it's kind of got quest things. It's got stuff like this. Leaderboards, rewards, challenge players, main menu. Replay tutorial, perfect. Now, I really wish I could have done this first, but now we'll be able to kind of talk about some of the stuff going on here. Hopefully show you guys what's going on. Greetings, young Spellweaver. Well, I don't know why this guy is like stuttery Magoo here. Basically, he's having some problem with some goblins, even though this is a bandit man up here. This is really interesting. Your hero starts with 1 mana, so we can see that here in no levels. Now, the Lost Legionnaire Spearman costs 1 level, and I like his flavor text as well. So what we have here are basically mana cards that we would see from, Magic the Gathering, not from Hearthstone. Hearthstone just kind of racks up down here. And not from, Soulforge either, if that's what you're into. So we're able to play this and use it for 1 order, and that is just a level. It doesn't increase our mana, but we did gain a level, and we need both of these. So basically what this does is it allows us to either sacrifice it for resources, which are our levels, or we can use it, which will generate a mana, as well as allowing us to draw an extra card. So that's kind of what's going on there. Now we can actually just cast this guy. He's going to hit the field. He is a 1 attack, 1 health creature. That's, designated right here from this area and this area right there. We're going to go ahead and pass turn. I do kind of like that I messed up, though, because I do have a bit more of a feel for this. I like my first looks generally to be, like, true first looks, but the fact that I messed it up means I know a little bit more about this than I did the past time that I didn't record it. So we can go ahead and get rid of that and draw a card. So you see what happened there is we didn't actually gain a level, but we did gain a mana, and that's kind of a permanent thing. They refill. And now we are able to play this heavy infantry unit because you could see from his aspects right here, he costs 2 mana, but only 1 level. So the stronger cards obviously are going to cost multiple levels to cast, and multiple mana as well, which is a team thing. Now, I believe it was telling me to go ahead and attack this goblin. That's one of the things I was talking about. We can choose to attack the goblin directly. We can also just choose to attack this bandit, but they don't want us to do that right now. So let's go ahead, attack this goblin, hit declare attacks. They want to show us that when you do that, both creatures die because they only had 1 health, even though he had 2 attack. We'll go ahead and pass. It's got a little bit of a... keeping track of the phases of the game. You need a 2nd level to play Elite Vanguard. Now this is interesting too because this 2nd level is just a white crystal, which means that it can be any type of level. So to me, and they don't go into detail with this, but to me that means that as long as we have 2 levels, even if one was black or blue or green, we would still be able to cast this as long as we had at least one of these sun levels. We already have the 2 mana necessary, so we can go ahead and just set this guy into play. Now, the heavy infantry only has 1 speed. This is a very interesting aspect of this. You can see speed displayed as a number of arrow icons to determine which creatures can be attacked and blocked. What that means is that this creature actually cannot attack this creature because he's too fast. He would evade the attack. See, he has 2 speed right here, whereas our creature only has 1. So this guy's only good for one thing, and that's going to be bashing this bandito's face. So we're going to go ahead and do that. It takes a little while to get that animation going there, just a little bit, but that could be my setup, you never know. And afterwards they basically tap, which is a magic term, but they can't do anything. They can't block. They're tuckered out. They're plumb tuckered, so they're just going to sit out the next turn. Now this is direct damage to my face. I'm going to take 3 damage here, go to 17. Then there's going to be this, you can block this attack. Okay, so we need 1 ready creature. They do these Z's instead of tapping them to show that they're unable to block, but we have a 3 attack, 3 health. So we're going to go ahead and launch into this block, and they don't tell us expressly, but at the beginning of our turn, our creatures heal, and then they do tell us right here. So one of the things that we can do here, we don't have anything that's playable, but we don't have anything that requires more than 1 level. So what they want us to do is go ahead and play this for 1 mana, 1 card. We burn that through, and this actually looks super useful. At the end of combat, this guy wakes back up, so he can attack and block same turn. Once again, this guy's got 2 speed, so I'm unable to attack him. They show that with that red X, which is very nice. And then, actually, I'm just going to go ahead and damage my opponent. This is exactly what I did last time, because I didn't see any reason not to, because I get this 2/4 that will be able to block the incoming 2/1's attacks. So we go ahead and do that. Hit go. I love this interface. Like, it looks really cool. I'm not sure what this is. I'm not sure. There's a lot of stuff that is... Oh, wow. And then you can go over here and see the last played card, which is really neat. There's really no point in me not just going ahead and blocking this. So I'll hit OK. And then I'll show you something that kind of bothered me about this. See, I can give everybody +1 attack and +1 HP until end of turn. But I'll show you something that kind of bothered me about this 5/3. So we can't do them both. Now I'm going to take these out of order. I'm going to attack, well, because which one do you think you would probably want to kill this 3/3? So the thing that bothered me about this is that I'm not sure how damage distribution is done. And I'm going to show you this in detail. So if you don't understand exactly what I'm talking about, just hang on 1 second, we'll get to it. First thing we're going to do is Night Escort's going to attack this guy because it says right on here, you know, he's always up, always awake, has insomnia, can't go sleep. So he'll be able to block as well this turn. Now I could do this. And it looks like I can I not? See, you can't play it now because we're in combat. So I would have had to do that first main, which that is nice to know. I didn't know that either. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attack this guy in this order. And we're going to see who dies here. It goes in my order. It goes in my order because the last time I did this, and I'm glad that I did this. wrong, actually, because the last time I did this, this is the guy who died, because I did it in the opposite order. I attacked with the 2-1 and then him, so I don't think that my opponent gets to choose, but I can't be sure. So we heal on their turn as well. And we do get to just kill this guy. Would he kill any of our guys? No, well, cancel. I mean, let's just be clear. So if I block, I can't because he's too fast. Gosh darn it. 3 and 3 is 6. I can just go ahead and beat him right here, though, and then I don't have enough mana to do that. See, we kind of get a little ugly on this when we're trying to figure out that other stuff. I should have just killed the guy. Got to be kind of an ugly play because of our last turn where we were trying to figure out what damage looks like. I'm just really intrigued because the first time I did this and I wasn't recording, I was blathering on like an idiot to no one. This is the character that died, or the creature that died. You can't play that, it's just blue for no reason. And this guy lived, so it's obviously switched around this game, or this time. Oh, 3 or more. Oh wow, this is just gonna be a whole thing now, isn't it? 1 mana, 1 card. I really didn't do anything. Oh, we're gonna be here all day now. Just attack this guy again. You should just let the damage through. This is kind of how the systems work, you know, the math and everything, solid. I haven't seen any problems yet, only done the tutorial twice though, obviously, so those kind of things would show up later, you would assume. We do have a new card here. Other soldiers on the same line. This Master Tactician have +1/+1. Oh, that's pretty nice. So you can't put them on that back there. I don't know if you... And you can move them, it seems, at will. I wonder if you can... So that shows that he can't attack, which is interesting. Okay. Alright, I see what's happening here. So this guy's going to get that buff, but it doesn't really matter because our opponent's at 1, so we're going to be able to just go ahead and sew this up right now. I'm sorry this was a little out of order, like I said. My excitement got to me. I saved this. You know, there's only one tutorial mission available in beta, and I really think that they could do a little bit better job surfacing some of this stuff. But that's going to do it for this first episode here. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. I mean, this is only available on PC. I know that you saw that Mac interface pop up right here, but this is being ran through Parallels right now. It's only available on PC. They are working on iPad, I believe, and they don't have a date for that, though. Don't get too excited. They are working on iPad. This is what pulled me in, though. I mean, just this world with all this art. It's really pretty. I like this a lot. We're going to be checking up on this a lot in the coming weeks, maybe. You know, I'm intrigued. I want to see if it's good. We'll have to see if it does anything for me, if it's a fun game or not. We don't know that yet, but this was just a quick first look. I do wish the tutorial would have came first so you kind of knew more what you were looking at with those different card types and everything. But if you like what you saw, if you like hearing me ramble on while playing card games, be sure to subscribe. We do play a ton of Magic the Gathering stuff on this channel, and I would really appreciate you guys stopping by and hanging out with me. But other than that, this game seems interesting. I need a lot more time with it to decide whether or not it's worth you guys' time. And I'll be putting that in here, and we'll be recording it and just seeing what happens. I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw so far. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this episode, and I will see you all hopefully next time.